If you are just joining us, Ohio State has moved back to the top of the college football playoff rankings, edging past LSU. Bayou Bengals at 2. Clemson sitting there, 3 potential semifinal matchup to find out who has the real Death Valley. Georgia holds on to 4, Alabama and Utah at 5 and 6. Pleased to be joined now by the chair of the College Football Playoff Selection Committee, Rob Mullens. Rob, let's start at the top. What was it? Obviously, it was a good performance and a terrific win for Ohio State at home against Penn State. Why did that carry the day to move the Buckeyes back ahead of LSU?
Well, Ohio State's been a complete team, and that win over Penn State was their 3rd win against teams that we currently have ranked in the top 19. And it's probably that complete team piece. Ohio State's been really good on both sides of the ball.
LSU has had some at least statistical struggles on defense. You said 3 in the top 19 for Ohio State. LSU has 3 in the top 15, one of those on the road. So what was it that made Ohio State seem like the more complete team?
Yeah, I think you nailed it. It was the defensive piece. They're obviously both very good on the offensive side. And this week the committee felt that win over Penn State again solidified that Ohio State's a little better on the defensive side of the ball.
Okay, Baylor jumps 5 spots this week after the loss to Oklahoma. Then they bounced back up 5. We used the term in speculating market correction on the Big 12. How would you evaluate the jump that Baylor made and the move up by Oklahoma as well?
Well, we do start with the clean sheet each week, and in the last 2 weeks, Baylor had the dominant win this week, following the close loss against a highly ranked Oklahoma team, to add to their resume where they already had 2 wins against ranked opponents. So the committee felt they deserved to be at number 9. And then obviously Oklahoma's resume with the win on the road at Baylor without CeeDee Lamb adding to, that was their 2nd win against a ranked opponent.
Now, Oregon's fall after the loss to Arizona State, how do you expect that to impact a potential Pac-12 championship game, assuming Utah can get there, not playing as highly a ranked team as Oklahoma and Baylor would meet in the Big 12 championship game?
Well, as you know, in the committee room, we just focus on the results through this week. We do not project ahead. You know, there was a number of teams bunched together there with 2 losses that were hard to decipher.
How close was it in terms of, I want to go back to the top of the rankings again because I promised America I would ask you this. How close was the debate between Ohio State and LSU?
Well, when you step into that committee room, we spent considerable time debating those, as we have every week. And, you know, now in our 1st and 4th rankings, you got Ohio State at the top, and the 2nd and 3rd, you have LSU at the top. So, again, it just confirms that we start with a clean sheet. And, again, that win over Penn State and how consistent Ohio State's been and, you know, balanced on both offense and defense, the committee felt they deserved to be number 1 this week.
When you look at 5 and 6, Rob, you have a couple of teams that have injury situations. Alabama's is current, most notable without Tua Tagovailoa. Utah's goes back to the lone blemish on their record. The loss to USC, they were without Zach Moss. On the flip side, SC ended up playing their 3rd-string quarterback and still won the game. How does the committee look at those 2 particular injury situations?
Well, we've certainly been aware of them, you know, with Zach Moss being a great running back at Utah and the impact that had in that game, being that he went out early in that game against USC and his performance since then. And obviously we're tracking closely when Tua went out in the Alabama game and how Mac Jones performed this week against an FCS opponent.
The thing that will come down, and because Alabama's never missed a playoff, there's so much discussion centered around them. They're not going to be able to win a conference. Therefore, in the committee's protocol and criteria, they would have to be unequivocally better. How do you define unequivocally better?
Well, we'll have to get to that point when we get to the end. Obviously, you know, we've got 2 weeks left. As you mentioned, the conference championship data point gets added at the end. Unequivocal really is, you know, clear and convincing in the mind of each committee member.
Thank you, because I was about to come at you and say I didn't ask you to do it specifically. I asked you to define the term, and you did so beautifully. Rob, thank you very much.
Thank you, Rece.